Can I tell you guys about a fucking car I saw like literally earlier today?
Car.
Yeah, I had to do some like errands today and like minor errands.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this car. I passed him twice, and everything about this man's vehicle upsets me. And I'm saying it's a man, and you'll probably agree with me that it was a man by the end. I did not see the driver because their windows were probably an illegal amount of tinted. But so you know when you like start a video game and you go into character creator, one of the options is always like 3 scratch marks, scars over the eye.
Yeah.
That's like a really common one.
That's the one I go for.
Yeah, same actually. I usually like the 1, but this vehicle had those 3 scratch marks, not over one of the headlights, but over both of the headlights.
Why?
Which is already a good start. It was like a decal that they had over it.
Did it go over the glass?
No.
Oh, I see.
But on the front windshield, it said in what I can only hope is a custom font, fearless. And then
wait, on the windshield?
Yeah, like across like the top of it.
Like on the top, like where
it said fearless. The back window had the same thing, but it said merciless. And then over the gas cap was a silhouette of a naked woman that said "Fill me up" underneath it.
Oh my God.
Huh.
You know, like the thing
I'm
just
open. Sorry. You were like, here's a silhouette of a naked woman. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll picture that for a minute.
And then it says "Fill me up"
because
that's where you put the gas.
Oh, because women are always like, put some gasoline in my ass.
But also, this man is probably very sexually attracted to this car.
Dude, I am certain that there's no man on planet Earth with a larger penis than the driver of that vehicle.
Was there like truck nuts?
You know, there was not truck nuts, which surprised me because I looked. Because it's like,
I saw this twice, implying that the guy was like, "Do you think Tyler's on my car?" I'm gonna drive by again. He just base.
He's one of our like 8 subscribers and was like, "Notice me, please. I want to be on the show."
He's like, hopefully they'll talk about my car because it's so cool. 2 scratch marks on the headlights.
Dude, that's the thing that pisses me off the most, actually. Because when you have the scratch mark thing in a video game, it's supposed to imply, oh, my character was in a fierce battle and he got scratched across the eye and, oh, he's such a badass. But this would just imply that this adventurer is fucking garbage because he got scratched on both eyes in a symmetrical way. My guy, protect your face.
What if he was fighting someone that was dual wielding?
Dual wielding what? A 3-prong, like forks?
I'm sure there's some.
I believe they're called tridents.
He just had 2 tridents, went, just crossed both of his eyes.
Yeah.
It's possible.
That's a situation that I could find myself in.
But I hate that vehicle. I hate it so much.
What type of car was it?
It was a tiny like sedan.
So it wasn't like
it wasn't even like a car or like a truck. It wasn't a car.
It wasn't like a car.
It was like a fucking Subaru or something.
Yeah. Okay, that's weird.
Okay.
I hated that vehicle and I saw it twice and it made me mad.
Were you in like even remotely similar places?
Kind of ish.
Just like you're in like East LA and then you're like, all right, time to go like to
to San Diego and it's like, is he still here? But yeah, that car, I've been thinking about it all day because that man chose to put all of those decals up. I hate the headlight ones. I hate that it says fearless and merciless.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that a threat? What do you want me to convey from this?
Right.
I hate that vehicle. And I've seen it before is the thing too, but I saw it twice today.
Oh, so this is the 3rd time.
This is the 8th time probably.
Oh, so that person just like lives probably
around the area.
Yeah.
But I hate it.
So I have a similar story, but this story is not really that relevant. One time I was walking to Target. This is before I could drive. And I'm like, man, I really wish I had a car. And as I said that, it was like a purple. Okay, imagine you had like a Rolls Royce, and you were like, but I'm also from the ghetto, so I need like my car to like. Imagine a Rolls Royce that like did like the hop.
the lift.
So it's like bright purple, like the entire top is removed. That guy's like probably like, that's how I like my car, like I like my women. Sawed in half.
With their top half removed.
Yeah. And this guy, he's like he's like in his 50s. This is clearly a car that like he restored and put back together. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, he's like stopped at a light, and I'm quite young at the time, so I'm quite short. This is kind of important for how this works. So I'm looking like eye to eye, and and I'm just like looking at this car. I'm like, that's actually a really cool car. Like it's like what I would imagine a Batman villain would drive, but it is a very cool car. And as I'm thinking this, like he looks over and I'm like, oh, like and I'm looking at it, and I give him a thumbs up just to be like, oh yeah, I'm acknowledging you have a cool car. He gives me a thumbs up, and a woman head emerges from his lap and turns, and she gives me a thumbs up, and I was like, what the fuck? This guy's cooler than I thought.
Wait, how old were you?
I was probably like 14, 15.
Okay.
Oh my god, that's incredible.
Yeah, when you said you were smaller, I imagine like 8 or something.
I mean, to be
It would
fair,
have been
much
a gnarly
better.
sight to see at 8.
To be fair, I did not see his penis, and unlike the car, the woman had her top on. But it was just a situation where I was like, okay, like that was the most like stereotypical situation that car could have been in. Like,
oh yeah, that's incredible. I love that so much.
And yeah.
Do you think the guy who in the car I saw was getting head?
If anything, he was getting the opposite of head. He was like giving head.
That's dangerous.
It's like, just stay in the car. Come on. It's a cool car. It's got 3 scratch marks.
Well, on that note, welcome back to Cracking Open a Cryptid.
I'm Jeremy Savage Tate.
I'm Adrian Castro.
And I'm Tyler Shively.
That was a really nice crack.
Dude, it was a good one, right? Adrian, you need to practice at home, dude.
That was
It's like trash.
I don't know why you guys are dissing your own cracks.
Here, hold on. I have another can. Hold on.
What?
Hold on. I got another
Hang
one.
on.
Okay, so I just had a really stupid thought. That was pretty good as well. I just had this thought of like, it's like a sound library of like stereotypical, things. And I'm thinking to myself as I was about to say that, and I'm thinking like, well, no shit. That's what they would be doing. It's like, oh, this sounds exactly like when professionals hold a can up to a microphone and open it up.
And that's where you're wrong, Bucko, because we are anything but professionals.
Oh, that's true.
We
but
just have cans and microphones.
It just really shows how little work these professionals are doing. They're like, hey, yeah, you need a can opener for a movie? I'll go get a can and open it up for that movie.
Dude, the library of sound effects that we can get just by opening these cans.
Ooh, and sell them? You think we can sell them?
Crack open a Cryptid like sound pack, and it's exclusively just opening cans.
And then just one short clip of Jeremy absolutely clipping the mic for no reason.
In my defense, someone said something mild. In my defense, it would be used for a situation where someone said something kind of mildly inconvenient towards me.
Exactly.
It's not for no reason.
I think I said this off mic in the break, but I always know whenever I'm playing games with Jeremy and we're talking about something, I always know he's actually getting upset when he starts clipping his microphone.
It happens surprisingly often.
Yeah.
I don't play very many games with Jeremy, but at least once every time I do.
Here's the thing.
It's because I know how to get him going.
Like, nothing makes me more upset than that fucking Dark Souls thing of you being like, just roll. I was rolling. I'm fucking rolling the entire fucking time. It's fucking Roll City where I'm at.
I was intentionally trying to piss
And
you off.
and then I'm watching you. You're like, just roll. It's fine. And I'm like, oh yeah, you do it. And he just walks. He ain't even rolling. I'm like, why are they going for me, but they're not going for you? And then you're like, just roll. Oh, yeah.
I think at one point I ran up to where you were and I just started rolling in a circle, and not once was I aimed at.
In this situation, it's like there's an area where it's like someone's shooting arrows, and if you don't roll, you get hit by them. And there's like a 20-minute delay to these arrows. So it's like you walk in, like, oh, we're going to shoot at that guy, bing! And then it's like 20 minutes later it'll land. You should have plenty of time. For Tyler, he has plenty of time. For me, they're just like, there he is now. Let's use the ultrasonic fast arrows on Jeremy.
And while I was saying this is not how it works, just to piss him off at the time, in Jeremy's defense, they do like move in. It's not like he fires it in a straight line. they like swerve to hit you.
Yeah.
It's bullshit, and I hate that section. But I got through it flawlessly for the first time in my life, and Jeremy died like 8 times.
It's also important that, like, in the context of the game, I have to bring him in and be like, hey, I need help with this. And then it's like, okay, now we go. And I'm rolling and literally just getting pegged by every single arrow over and over again. I'm like, but I'm rolling. He's like, just time your rolls better. I'm like, I'm timing my rolls forward. I'm timing my rolls backwards. I'm timing my rolls on time. And I'm still dying.
I do believe it was a netcode issue, but it was way funnier just to pretend that he was worse at Dark Souls than me, because I am awful at Dark Souls.
They were just like, hey, you know, it'd be really fun is if we just hacked the game so Jeremy had, like, not as fun time.
And
That's my life.
I think, because there's a boss, like, right after. I always want to call him the Ghoul Tree, but I know that's not his name.
It's something like that. It's the tree boy.
Yeah, it's a tree, and you have to punch his various nut sacks.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It's actually kind of a fun fight. It sucks, but it's kind of fun. And I think we spent so long heckling Jeremy over why he couldn't roll that it was like 2 a.m. and we just like didn't fight the boss and never picked it back up.
Yep, that's pretty accurate. All right, what the fuck you showing to me this week?
Don't ever ask me what I'm going to show you this week, or I will show you something you do not want to see.
Are you going to show me?
This is an audio medium.
All right, let me rephrase that. Hey, can we see your penis again this week?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the big secret. My penis is out in every episode of this show, and
Only
they
the
just
ones-
kind of deal with
Yeah,
it.
it's like okay. Hey, can I see? Oh, okay. I open my eyes for a bit to see what image you're pointing to.
And then it's just an image of my penis.
Yeah.
You're just like, come on, man, that's not what Polybius looks like.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, Polybius and my penis. Let's start with a P.
That's true. That is true. He's got me there.
All right, what cryptid are we seeing this week?
So this week I didn't actually research a cryptid as much as I researched.
Feels like you're not doing the show.
Well, this whole week, the last few episodes
Haven't been like actual
been
cryptids. They've been like anomalous artifacts, or like, is this thing real or not? And on the note of, is this place real or not, I looked into Atlantis this time.
I know this one.
Yeah, it's my favorite Disney movie.
Dude, it is a good Disney movie.
It's a great Disney
So,
movie.
first of all, just to start off talking about Atlantis, Jeremy first, where do you think Atlantis was?
I think it's a Greek myth, so I'm going to say somewhere around Greece.
Adrian, where did you think Atlantis was?
I know Plato wrote about it, that it's somewhere off the coast of blah, blah, blah. I can't remember exactly the place. I'm like 3 beers in. But I know that, in my opinion, the most likely, if it does exist, or if it had existed, it would be the eye of the blah, blah, blah that I can't remember right now.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll
Eye
show
of the
you.
tiger.
I grew
Yes.
up also thinking it was off the coast of Greece. Immediately in my research, everyone was like, what are you, some kind of fucking moron? Of course it's not off the coast of Greece. It's in the Atlantic Ocean near the Straits of Gibraltar, or it might be off the coast of Greece, or it could be like near Borneo, or like anywhere in the world. We don't know where
Off
it is.
the strait. Okay, it would make sense that it is, because does Greece have direct access to the Atlantic Ocean?
Oh, you're thinking of the Eye of the Sahara?
The eye of the Sahara.
What does the Eye of the Sahara have anything to do with Atlantis?
Atlantis
It was a
got-
big lava bubble.
Well, yeah, but they also found like whale bones and shit, and like
Yeah, they found whale bones all over the fucking place. The planet was mostly ocean for a while.
yeah.
I'm confused. Does Greece have access to the Atlantic Ocean directly?
Yes, there's a small area where the Mediterranean leads to the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, so they can go through the Mediterranean to...
Yes.
Okay, that's where I thought they'd have to. So that's also near the Strait of Gibraltar. They'd have to pass that.
Yeah, it's just it's further west, basically. But apparently in most ideas of Atlantis, they talk about it being in the Atlantic Ocean rather than off the coast of Greece.
I mean, kind of
But-
makes sense.
Yeah, because of the name. But
Yeah, I
when you talk about Atlantis and you try to pinpoint where it is, at some point in history, literally any place on planet Earth you can think of, someone probably thought Atlantis was there.
Is it a situation where, like, oh, there's the myth of Atlantis, and then, like, they found something similar, and, like, this could be Atlantis?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly correct. But the very first reportings of Atlantis were, I'm surprised Adrian actually knew this, were from the philosopher and historian Plato. Now, Plato described Atlantis in 2 of the dialogues that he wrote, Timaeus and Critias. And he described them as being a technologically superior nation to everybody else in the world by a huge, huge notion. it was an archipelago, which is a collection of islands,
Yep.
but it was an island nation that he described as, quote, larger than Asia Minor and Libya combined.
Asia Minor.
Okay, I think Libya has also changed size over the years as well. So I have no point of reference for what he is describing.
Exactly correct. I had to look into this. Libya, roughly the same size. Asia Minor was what they called what we know today as modern-day Turkey.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's larger than Turkey and Libya combined, which I still think is a very weird way to say how large this is.
Is Libya connected to Turkey? I think it is.
I think it's just close.
Because,
That part of my geography brain is not very good.
I mean, maybe it was more... I think it might be directly connected. I don't know why, but I always confuse Yemen and Turkey because they are very similar shapes as
Are
a country.
they? I really
They are
don't know.
both like... It's kind of like a Wyoming and a Colorado situation where you're like...
Can I be real with you? I thought Yemen was just a city. It's a country.
Yeah.
Wait, is it? Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
I
Oh.
thought it was just a city. Oops. Regardless of that,
To all the Yemenites, sorry.
Yeah, and people from Phoenix are called Phoenicians. Like, what do you want?
Wait, is that true?
Yes.
Oh, well.
It's also the douchiest thing you could say to someone from Phoenix.
Well, they're not going to call them the Phoenixies.
I'll call them a Phoenixies.
Yeah.
But regardless,
Yeah.
Atlantis, while being technologically superior to the rest of the world, they also had a very unique and rich culture, which included all kinds of shit, but they really, really were into bulls, like male cows.
Taurus.
Yeah, they were into bulls. They would fight bulls. They would sacrifice bulls. They would create they were one of the first nations to create truly fine arts, according to Plato.
Okay.
Of all the existing varieties, painting, music, writing, they were culturally and technologically more advanced than everyone around them.
Question: was Spain a country during this time?
No,
Oh.
This is way before Spain. There were people living there, but it wasn't Spain as we know it today.
Yeah, because that just kind of sounds like Spain to me.
And that's kind of the thing about Atlantis, right? You say that, and then someone's like, yeah, okay, so Spain was Atlantis. And it's like, well, no. And then someone goes, sorry, it was Portugal. And it's like, well, no. And it just keeps snowballing.
Right.
Okay.
But when Plato first described Atlantis, he wrote, quote, "For it is related in our records how once upon a time your state stayed the course of a mighty host, which, starting from a distant point in the Atlantic Ocean, was instantly advancing to attack the whole of Europe and Asia to boot. For the ocean there was at the time navigable, for in front of the mouth, which you Greeks call, as you say, the Pillars of Heracles, there lay an island which was larger than Libya and Asia together. And it was possible for the travelers of the time to cross it from the other islands, and from the islands to the whole of the continent, over against them, which encompasses the veritable ocean." I hate how people write in any era but ours, because what the fuck? It's so hard to read. Continuing the quote, "For all that we have here, lying within the mouth of which we speak, is evidently a haven having a narrow entrance, but that yonder is a real ocean, and the land surrounding it may most rightly be called, in the fullest and truest sense, a continent." He's basically just saying there's a bunch of islands, and you might as well just act as if they're a continent. "Now in this island of Atlantis there existed a confederation of kings of great and marvelous power, which held sway over all the islands, and over many other islands also, and parts of the continent." So he's just trying to say that there was a enormous country known as Atlantis that was a group of kings, so it was more of like an oligarchy, really an early oligarchy,
Oh, so it's Westeros.
kind of. But they joined together in all these islands and part of the nearby continent, and their goal was to take over the world. And they started in Europe, and they started going into Asia. And it is important to note that they were going to war with the world. According to Plato, this nation was established around 360 BC by demigods, which, if you don't know, in Greek mythology, were half human, half god. A god came down, they fucked a person, like a regular person, and then the baby has half blood of a god. Initially, the creators of Atlantis were children of Poseidon, but other demigods arrived later, and that's why they became so powerful. And the Atlanteans created the very first true utopia. The two things that they stockpiled more than anything were wealth and naval power. These were a superpower at the time. Nobody could even come close to what the Atlanteans had accomplished. Now, even on the island, a reason they were able to stockpile all this was because on these islands, they had all kinds of exotic fauna and flora, and beneath the ground were just an abundance of precious metals. So they had gold, silver, iron, everything you could use to make the world's greatest armies. Eventually, they decided with all this wealth that they wanted to declare war against the rest of the world and started sweeping through Europe. Nobody could do anything. But eventually, they came upon, in Greece, the city-state of Athens. Jeremy, I assume this is the part where you say, I've been there.
I have been there, yeah.
There it is. Now, unlike the rest of the world, the Athenians were able to resist the Atlanteans. They were the only holdout in all of Europe, in all of Asia, that didn't immediately crumble to the Atlanteans. Not only were they able to repel the attack, they were able to follow up on it and chase the Atlanteans back to their country. Because of this failure, the gods basically was like, we gave you guys everything in Atlantis. You're supposed to be the fucking cock of the walk. And you couldn't even take over the tiny little fucking city-state of Athens. You're dead. You're dead to me. You're dead to me. So the gods decided to cause what became known as the Great Cataclysm, which was a consecutive earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions, the works. And it went for, quote, a night and a day. And by the time it was over, the city had sunk into the ocean. And that is the story of Atlantis as we currently know it outside of the Disney movie.
So that just sounds like somebody in Athens was like, oh yeah, we're dope. Look at what we do. Like, it's not a real story. It's just to like fucking pump themselves up or something.
Now, it's important you point that out because Plato was a big fan of Athens at the time. And he passed this legend off as fact, which effectively tricked countless writers and historians up through the Renaissance era before people started questioning, wait, was Atlantis real? It went through the Renaissance era, to which European historians were convinced that Atlantis had to have existed because they went to Arabia, and those Arabian historians were like, yeah, Atlantis was real. And the Europeans were like, neat, guess it's real.
And did they also hear there was like, oh yeah, well we heard from this guy that it was.
They didn't really follow up.
Oh,
just
okay.
The Arabians were like, yeah, it's real. It's like, well, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
And then attempts to identify the nation's remnants led people to believe that Atlantis was anything from America being discovered way before the rest of the world did. A lot of people thought it was Scandinavia because it kind of fit the area. Others thought, potentially it was Ireland or the Canary Isles because they were also in the right area. But none of their cultures or technological prowess at all can match what the Atlanteans were claimed to do.
Right.
So, what was it actually? I'll start with the real answer, which is what you said, Adrian. Plato was a historian and a philosopher. While ancient people attributed the legend to his historian profession, this was probably just his philosophy or his philosopher profession coming in, because he was desperately trying to convince people of the time that democracies and the city-state model was how we should be running everything. And the biggest democratic state and the best city-state in the world was...
Oh, it was Athens.
Yeah, there you go. So...
I was set up for that one.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I kind of knew that, but like, I feel like I wouldn't have known that if you just asked that off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, good job.
It was
buddy.
Athens.
Yeah, there you go, big guy.
Oh, whew.
And Adrian's like, I thought it was Sparta. So
Spartans were the ones that had the swords.
Well,
so did the
spears,
Athenians.
didn't
They had both.
they? Yeah, and the King Leonidas, who I just found out was a real person.
Because, like, the legend goes, he was like, you shall not pass, and then he kicked the Balrog into the hole.
Yeah, that's
That just
what-
sits there in
Yeah,
Sparta.
Yeah, we all know that.
Yeah.
There's an actual real story about Sparta that I fucking love. I can't remember who the aggressor in the story was, but it was some conqueror who was taking over everything in the area. And the only place that they couldn't conquer at the time was Sparta. So they sent a letter to Sparta that said essentially along the lines of, if I ever step foot in your town, I will raze it to the ground. I will pillage it. I will kill every living person you have ever known. If I ever get in here, you are going to be erased from history. And the Spartans replied with a letter that had one word.
Okay.
If.
Oh.
And that's fucking badass, dude. I love that story. Because it's such BM. It's such BM, and I love it. There's a lot of really great weird historical moments like that where you realize, oh, we were not the first meme lords.
Yeah.
These people were memeing it up before the internet was even a sparkle in someone's eye.
Well, it's like the Kilroy was here from World War II.
I don't think I know this one,
Okay,
which is
so
weird because I love World War
It's
II.
the little dude who has like the long nose and is like peering over the wall.
So
Oh, yes,
that
okay.
was a meme that U.S. soldiers used to just write down. It literally meant nothing, but it was so meme that like most people were doing it. And it led to the fact that the Germans thought that there was a singular Kilroy that was like teleporting around Europe, just eviscerating part because they kept seeing like they'd be like, oh, the US just took over this town, and then they'd be like, no fucking way, Kilroy was here too. And so they were just like, we are so fucked if this Kilroy guy gets to us. But yeah, it was just people were just writing it down anywhere. Like, hey, we're in a new place, but Kilroy is here. It's a joke.
I love to imagine that they like actually put a hit on this giant dude with the long nose just peering over walls.
Yeah, there was like a task force that was made by the Nazis to be like, you will find this man. You will find this man and you will kill him. I can't do a German accent.
Yeah, it's
Can you
alright. I was
tell?
about halfway there. Yeah, that is interesting. Back to the Atlantis stuff.
Yeah, so essentially Plato wanted to tell everybody that democracies and the city-state model was the best way to run society at the time. And the best way to show that is because everybody in the world was going to war with each other, fighting over land constantly. He decided, well, what if I made up a boogeyman? Mm-hmm. A nation that was stronger than everybody else, and the only people who could stand up for it or stand up for the world was the beacon of liberty that is Athens. Mm-hmm. And so he made up Athens. And it was just supposed to be an allegory for if the world is going to go to war, then Athens will be the only survivor.
Yeah. To be fair, that's not really an allegory. That's like a direct, like, hey, this is real.
That's a great point. And it was one of the first real underdog stories.
Right.
Because Athens should not have been able to survive a force this strong. Because if the Atlanteans conquered all of Europe and all of Asia, including the superpower of Egypt, but they couldn't take Athens, they must be doing something right.
Right.
Yep.
And they were letting people vote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the only reason they won. They were like, all right, we got our guns. They're like, we have the power to vote.
And the Atlanteans were like, oh God, my only weakness,
Yeah.
the Electoral College.
Did they have an electoral?
No, they did not. That's a
electoral college?
stupid thing that America made up.
Got it.
I think.
I don't know if they made it up, but most places at the time I do not think had it.
Yeah. Now, the sinking of Atlantis, specifically the sinking at the end, was just supposed to be a lesson about hubris. And really, don't pick a fight with Athens. Just don't. It's not cool, or else your entire nation will sink into the ocean.
Can't believe it worked.
It's true.
In all
Boss
honesty.
move.
Yeah.
People believed every word that came out of Plato's mouth. He could do no wrong at the time. Everyone loved Plato. Now, there are two that's the real answer. We're just gonna push that out of the way.
Okay, yeah, I
because
get it.
the real answer fucking blows. So do you want the neat historical answer or the correct answer?
Was it aliens?
Are those
I hope
two-
it's aliens.
Are those two options separate from that previous option? We
Yeah,
just put to the
there are
side?
three answers. The real answer, the neat historical answer, and the correct answer.
Let's go to the correct answer, and then we'll go to the actual and possibly the correct answer, which is the neat historical answer.
All right. So the correct answer was aliens, because you knew it was aliens. Of course it was aliens.
Yeah.
This is a Tyler episode. Did you really fucking think for a goddamn second I wouldn't bring up aliens?
I did not, no.
So, hear me out.
Which ones were they?
I'll get there.
Okay.
Ancient alien theorists, which is a term that every time I say it, I will remind you, I fucking hate the term ancient alien theorists. But ancient alien theorists believe that the only way a civilization at this period of time could have been so advanced was through alien benefactors, baby. This was a period of human history where pantheons of gods were worshipped and thought to be all-powerful beings. So if aliens with insane technology came to a nation like Atlantis and said, hey, here's the greatest ships the world's ever seen. Here's a new metal that you didn't even know you could work with. Here's just all this amazing shit you can do. Odds are those people would think that those were the gods that they were already worshiping.
Right.
Sure.
That's a pretty common sci-fi trope, I think, of aliens being worshipped as gods. But the islands that once made up the archipelago, did you really think they were islands, you dumb fucks?
It's like a spaceship. and water is flooding most of the spaceship. And the islands are like the sentinel towers where the spaceship would... And the bridge, it's like the bridge of a spaceship.
Wait a second.
He's actually correct.
All right, so the way that I understand it is the layout of Atlantis, it's kind of... Have you ever seen Attack on Titan?
I know there's a big wall and there's a bunch of big babies.
Okay, so it's a big palace with concentric walls surrounding it. That is a interpretation of Atlantis that was stolen from, I will never pronounce it right, but that one city in, I think, the Incan Empire in South America where everybody lived that was on a lake.
The Incan Empire.
I think it was Incan. There in South America, it starts with a T. I'll never pronounce it.
Can you give me a second letter?
Like, I think it's TEO is how it starts.
You try to pronounce it.
No. But if you just Google, like, city on Lake South America, you'll probably figure it out.
Is it El Dorado?
No. El Dorado is a different thing altogether that I'll probably do an episode on eventually because it's dumb. Essentially, it was a city built on a lake, and it was the only city the Spaniards couldn't get into because they just pulled the bridges back. But
okay,
so interpretations of Atlantis are actually based on that city because it was a floating city essentially. But the alien theory for Atlantis is either that it was one large spaceship half submerged or was multiple spaceships submerged next to each other.
They were like networking.
Yes, and people just lived on top of them while the alien benefactors could live underneath and still monitor everything that's happening. So
that's literally like the boat cities that show up in like Eastern Asia.
Yes,
but it's with spaceships.
Yes, pretty much exactly.
Yeah,
and so Atlantis didn't really sink as much as they really got embarrassed that their people lost to Athens, and then they submerged, went somewhere else, re-emerged, and then flew away.
See, I think I said this before. But it would be objectively more humiliating if your city just left. Like, if you suck... Because they're like, our city sunk to the ocean because we sucked. Those aliens should have been like, just take off. Like, they're going to look at us and they're going to be like, where the fuck is our city going? Oh, into the sky. Yeah, I guess we're homeless. Like, it's not even... It's like, oh, it's somewhere in the water. Maybe we can get it back. It's like, no. I saw it go up there.
Yeah.
Come back.
I would imagine it's because they... would know that boats can sink at the time, but they don't really know things can fly other than birds. So it's probably more of a, fuck, we got to get out of here, and they cannot notice us. Just go down.
That is an interesting idea that you brought up of like, if there's no frame of reference for you to immediately be like, well, things have there's the potential for things to fly. So their story wouldn't have had things flying because like it wouldn't be the first thing you would come up with.
Yeah.
When,
Well, it's like how I mentioned this in our Intro to Aliens episode. The very first sighting of a UFO ever was that Livy in Rome said that he saw a ship in the sky. But when we think about a ship in the sky, we immediately think of a flying saucer or a space shuttle. But those weren't any kind of frame of reference that these people had back then.
Right.
When he saw a ship in the sky, he saw like a fucking canoe, like in the air.
That's not a ship in the sky. That's a canoe in the air.
But so it is really important to remember the frame of reference that ancient peoples had. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they sunk the ships, like they just went underwater, went elsewhere, re-emerged from the water, and then flew away.
I mean, do we have any proof that they went elsewhere, like at all?
Oh,
yeah. Couldn't they have just parked?
Did you not go to the same website I did about how people say that the Pleiadians are here to heal us, and that the removal of the Lemurians was the start of the patriarchy? Because I found 4 different websites with that exact explanation. I still don't really know what it means.
Wait, there's an alien race that's creating the patriarchy?
So, the Lemurians, which are not one that I talked about very much in our Intro to Aliens one, the Lemurians were coming to Earth and they were trying to do the indoctrination thing of, oh, well, we're going to take this group of people, we're going to make them really strong, and then we're going to send this group of people to take over the world, but we're pulling the strings. So we didn't take over the world, they did, and we control them. It was supposed to be, a loophole in galactic law, essentially. But this was at the time when the Pleiadians kept showing up to Earth, finding another alien race and going, you can't be here. But the Lemurians were sitting in Atlantis, or sitting under Atlantis, being like, we're not doing anything, dog. They're fighting the war. We're just chilling and watching. So the Pleiadians had to find a way to get the Lemurians off the planet, and so they essentially helped the Athenians beat the Atlanteans.
You seem very invested in this like alien
I love alien
politics.
lore.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. Once again, I think aliens are just kind of a cool idea of lore, but also at the
Yes.
same time, that's really fucking stupid.
But you say that, and
I do.
I was going through the same thought process where I'm like, who the fuck came up with this? But have you ever read actual real stories about what the CIA have done in South America?
No, what?
Do you not know about this shit?
No.
The CIA, the American CIA, would, as opposed to like
Yeah.
the British CIA, I
Yeah.
don't know why I said that.
Oi, we got the CIA coming in, we do.
I thought we called it MI6. I don't know why I went like more New Zealand. Anyway, the CIA, this is real, actual stuff that's been declassified. They would sponsor rebel, like guerrilla units in South America to overthrow democratically elected governments because those democratically elected officials were like, hey, yeah, I know I got elected, but this communism thing seems like it's going to really help us. But America was like, well, we can't have communism this close to us. So we're going to stir up people to get angry. We're going to give them a lot of guns, money, and cocaine. Literally, they're going to overthrow this democratically elected government. We're going to put our own guy there who likes democracy, and then we basically own a puppet state.
Yeah.
The CIA did this all over South America. The one of the operations you probably heard of is what they did in the failed mission in Cuba to kill Castro.
Oh, the Bay of
was
Pigs.
the Bay of Pigs.
This is related, but the Panama Canal, that thing that we famously are like, hey, this really benefited travel. The U.S. was like, yo, can we get like a canal up in this bitch? And Panama was like, no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Why would we dig a hole through our country?
And they were like, okay, fair enough. And they basically just overthrew that government, and then they went to the person that they put in charge. Like, hey, we got a
like,
canal in
of
this bad boy.
course.
He's like, we're getting a canal in this bad boy. That's why we're sitting in this canal zone.
Yeah.
Jesus. The
So
U.S. is fucking shady.
the United States is kind of the villain of the story of Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
But so when we talk about the Pleiadians pushing the Lemurians out because the Lemurians are sponsoring the Atlanteans and the Pleiadians are sponsoring the Athenians, it sounds stupid until you realize that has happened countless times in our history.
Right.
Now the stupid part is the fact that it was aliens.
Yeah.
But
It was really the U.S. the whole time.
yeah, but the
Yeah, the U.S. doing this in what year was this?
360 BC.
Oh, dude, we were a young country then, but it feels possible.
The historical answer for why Atlantis exists, I actually find this one of the most fascinating to me. So around the time that Plato said that Atlantis had sunk, there was an actual real cataclysm that occurred in the Mediterranean Sea that actually sunk an island nation. Genuinely, this actually happened.
Yeah. What do we know? Like,
Was it?
what's an
Pompeii?
Atlantis? I guess.
Well, hold on that. So, off the coast of Greece, near the island of Crete, which, by the way, that's why we have the term Cretan, because the Greeks and the Cretans hated each other, so the Greeks turned the term Cretan into a
It's like
basically
hooligan.
slur. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What is hooligan like an actual place?
Hooligan's a last name, but it was like the name of like a crime family. So if you were
Oh.
acting like a hooligan,
Dude, I'm learning a lot today.
We have a lot of phrases like that. You probably don't hear this one much, but when someone says stop hogging something, they'll say like don't Bogart it. It was because of the actor Bogart.
Yeah, Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah.
yeah, well that's in reference to like passing a joint around.
Yeah.
It's because you're sitting there.
Well,
like,
he was always smoking.
Yeah, he was always smoking, and they're saying like, you like take it out of your mouth and pass it around. Stop standing there like
Yeah, stop Bogart.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But off the coast,
yeah.
off the coast of Greece was the island nation of Crete, which was a nation of Minoans, and there was a second island. The Minoans were like this group of people who had a bunch of different areas that they lived in. Sort of like how Greece wasn't one nation. They were all Greek, but this was a Spartan Greek and an Athenian Greek, and this Greek guy was from Thebes, and it was city-states. The Minoans had that with island nations. So Crete was the big one, but there was a smaller one by the name of Thera. Now, the Minoans inhabited both, but they were essentially two separate nations. Thera itself, listen carefully, was a prosperous island nation ahead of the technological curve with a unique and thriving culture, including bullfighting and the creation of advanced fine arts.
Interesting. Where is Thera in like modern day?
We'll get to that because
it fell into the ocean.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, 3,500 years ago, a volcano that made up the island of Thera erupted, wiping out most of the island from the map and killing the entire population of the nation of Thera. Think of Mount Vesuvius and what it did to Pompeii, but a million times worse. Because Pompeii got buried in ash and all these people were killed, but Thera was wiped off the map. I'm going to search up a picture of Thera here so you can see it, modern day Thera. You can see where the volcano was. That enormous crater. That's what Thera looks like now. That was one island.
I'm sorry.
Huge.
Oh,
Yeah, you see?
I was like, hold on, I'm not seeing. There's a big hole.
Exactly. Because that's where the volcano was. And it exploded, removing half the island.
Right.
That's crazy.
So,
Does anyone live there currently?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Now, the results of this eruption made massive earthquakes that were felt all across the Mediterranean, as well as tsunamis that flooded nearby coasts and other islands, nearly destroying Crete as well. And when you look up the satellite image of Thera that I just showed you, you can literally see the crater left by the eruption.
Yeah.
So odds are Plato's telling the story about a technologically and culturally advanced civilization that had volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and floods that sank the entire island nation. Meanwhile, there was another island nation that we knew about, like people at the time we knew about, that was technologically and culturally advanced, that had a giant volcanic eruption that made the ground shake where we lived and caused tsunamis that almost wiped out those other islands and really fucked up our coastline. Wouldn't you assume those were the same place?
So my question is that, sorry, let me get close to the mic. My question is, for this island, I'm trying to kind of formulate my thought because I yawned halfway through and now I'm like, I don't know what I was about to say.
We've been recording way longer than we normally do today.
Is there no reference to like the stuff they were making? Like talking about fine arts, can't find any pots or anything in the bottom of the ocean.
All destroyed by the volcanic eruption.
Really?
So there's no like.
Everything was wiped clean. The closest thing we have are stuff that Crete made because they were similar.
Okay, but I'm just thinking like we nuked fucking Hiroshima and we still had like a couple things standing. Like I can't imagine that one. Maybe I'm.
But you also have to remember that Hiroshima happened in the 40s, and this
Yeah,
happened.
I guess I'm
3,500 years
I'm just
ago.
surprised you can't find a pot in the ocean. Is all I'm saying.
Well, like there's
Well,
no like
it-
stonework or anything.
If we found that, we would probably assume it was Cretan or Grecian. You know what I mean?
okay.
Sure.
Because for a while we didn't really know Thera was a nation, but we realized it by putting together evidence from the surrounding areas and described the Great Cataclysm and how this happened. In Greek mythology as well, there's a point where the Titans come back. So they're the gods, and before the gods, there were the Titans, right? When the Titans came back, that's called the Great Cataclysm. And there was a Titan that made volcanoes explode. There were Titans who made tsunamis happen. There were Titans that made earthquakes happen. It is believed that Atlantis, the destruction of Thera, and the Greek history or the Greek mythology of the Great Cataclysm are all the same event.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that one is super cool.
Because this is once again another topic where it's like I'd believe that. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm sitting here being like, oh, well, none of that's true because like Greek gods don't exist. You're not arguing that. You're being like, hey, there was a volcano and it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, because it fucking exploded.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening to this, I cannot urge you enough to just Google Thera, Thera. You will see images of it. I just showed you guys the image. Why are you picking up your phones?
Because I want to be. It's like I'm the audience.
You can do it later when you listen to the episode and pad our view count.
I mean, I want to see if there's like at least an artist rendition of Thera or something.
Most of the stuff you'll see are Santanori, I believe, is the current nation that's close by.
Yeah,
Or
you
you'll
can
see
go there in
Cretan stuff.
Assassin's Creed.
Can you actually?
Yeah,
I
in
didn't know that.
Odyssey.
There's some
I didn't
stonework.
play Odyssey. Well, I don't think that's from Thera. I think that's from surrounding areas.
Thera, Santorini, Greece.
Apparently,
Yeah, it's in Santorini.
I just found a map of a bunch of archaeological sites, so clearly they are like finding things there.
Oh, okay. I thought it was completely wiped from the map.
It's gonna be funny if anyone's listening. They're like, I live there. What the fuck do you mean?
But yeah, so that's Atlantis. There's really not a whole lot of stuff about Atlantis that was the actual legend. It's more of people taking the story of Atlantis and extrapolating on it like the Disney movie.
Is Hera where like is Thera where like Helios is?
I'm not sure. But Helios was a Roman god, I believe.
Sorry, it's not called it's called Ilios.
Ilios, like you mean in Overwatch?
Yeah.
I thought that's just in Greece.
It is.
I know it's a real place too.
No.
That's where
I'm saying the name was actually Helios. They dropped the H at some point.
Really?
It's literally like Land of the Sun or something like that.
I didn't know can I tell you a fun story of when I used to play Overwatch before I realized it was a garbage game for garbage people?
Still haven't played it.
Don't. Maybe Overwatch 2. I don't know. But I was playing with some friends at the time, and we almost had like a full team. We would get like one rando. And we were going through the maps. We were playing for a while. And one of my buddies at the time was like, it's kind of weird that, because we went to watch Point Gibraltar.
Santa Torini is
it on the island?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a nearby island. But we were playing and we got to watch Point Gibraltar, and he was like, it's kind of cool how in Overwatch we go to all these real places like Ilios and Route 66 and everything, but then they just made up Gibraltar, and all of us went completely silent. We were like, Gibraltar's real, right? He was like, no, it's not. It's like, Google Gibraltar. I don't know what to tell you. Google Gibraltar.
It's weird.
He was convinced Gibraltar was not a real place.
It's weird to me that he was like, I've never heard of this before, therefore it doesn't exist.
Dude, right?
Because like, it's one thing if you are going to a place, it's like, oh, like we're going to this place called Rabanter, and you're like, that's not a real place because it's clearly based on Gibraltar. But to be like, I've never heard of this before.
And you know what other absolute nonsense fucking spilled out of this man's mouth right after? He was like, zippers can't freeze.